and today I'll be reviewing Kintsugi from the indie alternative rock group from Seattle, Death Cab for Cutie. So you see Kintsugi and you're like, what even is that? Why would anyone name their album that? Well, it turns out that Kintsugi is the Japanese art form of fixing broken pottery using gold. So as a philosophy, this is seeing beauty in brokenness and also celebrating and highlighting imperfection and damage instead of trying to cover it up or hide it. This is their 8th full-length LP and their 4th since the highly controversial among their fans, Codes and Keys. Objectively, a piece of garbage. Chris Walla, their guitarist, used to produce all their albums, but on this one they decided to go with someone new. They went with Rich Costi, who has worked with a number of big-name artists including Muse and Foster the People. So they decide to go with a new producer, and all of a sudden Chris Walla is leaving the band? Coincidence? In my personal opinion, they've always been focused more on creating a coherent album and albums instead of actually focusing on the songs, and that's led to a slightly underwhelming catalog as a whole, especially considering their status amongst other indie rock gems. However, they have a pretty big fan base because they've grown to a band you don't just see at a small venue. They're kind of bigger than that. I mean, Ben Gibbard married Zooey Deschanel. But with their divorce in 2011 and Chris Walla leaving the band and their descent as a group and their creative output, Kintsugi as an idea works on many levels. So the first track, No Room in Frame, is actually one of my favorites. This song is about Ben Gibbard leaving Los Angeles and going back to Seattle, the place that made him. This is probably also about Zoe and Ben coming to grips with their separation not being anyone's fault, really. There is that bitter and haunting line, we'll both go on and get lonely with someone else. The atmospheric guitar backing the singing on the verses is really eerie, but also at the same time warm and inviting. There's this lovely introspective nature to the song, and with the guitar layering and the subtle electronic beat during the bridge, I think it depicts vividly a long and thoughtful drive through the Pacific Northwest. And then we get to the alternative radio-friendly Black Sun. When looking at the lyrics alone, it's very poetic. I find myself singing all the time the chorus on this song. How could someone so fair be so cruel? There's a very modern sound here, especially with the pumping and fuzzy synth part during the chorus. It's almost like something you'd hear on a Rihanna song. I love the simplicity of the end section, or the C section. Walla does a great job at the end keeping the guitar solo very consistent tonally as he's just, ripping on the same note. This combines very well with the walking bass line up and down. It's very musical. And then we get to what feels like the most familiar Death Cab song, which is The Ghost of Beverly. The Ghost of Beverly. The Ghost of Beverly. The Ghost of Beverly Drive. Woo! But there are some of the new electronic touches and effects that complement the classic guitar-driven Death Cab song. There are some of the most memorable lyrical moments in the song which I really look for. For with that grand collision, I want to sell but not be bought. This is a top track on the album and one they released prior to the album coming out, and it really got me hyped for this thing. Then we get to Little Wanderer, another song of lost love. The song is about missing and trying to connect via technology with a traveling lover, someone, you're having a long-distance relationship with, and then, hoping things will be the same as they once were when you come back together. And since Gibbard said this was his favorite on the album, I think that they may go forward, if they have anything left in them, with this very easy listening approach. It's definitely a catchy song, definitely very good background music. My least favorite on the album is next, You've Haunted Me All Your Life. The combination of just a very elementary lyrical and musical, song structure approach led to a very sleepy and tedious and monotonous track. Plus the line, you are the mistress, I can't make a wife, just kind of comes off as creepy from the almost 40 Ben Gibbard. Hold No Guns is a very pretty little Gibbard showcase. I'm kind of a sucker for little acoustic songs like this. However, within the context of the album, it didn't really feel like a nice break because it wasn't coming off really abrasive songs. It was coming off a lot of songs that were very similar and very mundane and slow and easy. As a standalone track though, I think it's a very beautifully tender and raw showcase of Gibbard's songwriting prowess. So we're coming off this very easy listening section of the album, you know, 2 or 3 songs, to all of a sudden 80s dance vibes. Everything's a Ceiling has a very old school 4 on the floor disco beat. This is a really thought-provoking song lyrically, but it just has an extremely forgettable melody. And this sudden disco twist is carried over to the next song, Good Help Is So Hard to Find. This one feels a lot like a Killer song, specifically off Day and Age. I'm thinking, does anyone even know that album? Oh man, that's a classic! I would probably prefer Brandon Flowers' soaring vocals with Ben Gibbard's wit and charm. Can't have it all, I suppose. I love the jangly guitar riff and the constant harmonic movement of the guitar throughout the verse and pre-chorus. Just Walla is doing a great job here, and I really don't know what they're going to do without him. El Dorado may be my favorite track on the album. I just love the chord progression and how that shimmering guitar lead builds in and goes into unison with that spectral and very shadowy vocal melody. This is really where the producing shines. I just think there are so many interesting effects. I feel like I hear something new every time I listen to it. This is the best bass on the album in my opinion. There's just this, throughout the entire thing, this very delicate but rhythmically precise bass line. Woo! It swells and drives and, you know, it's urgent, but at the same time it's floaty. And this terribly interesting keyboard part during the bridge that's all syncopated, and it's so good, man. Just listen to it, please. Then we get to Ingenue, which is a really compelling story, but it's a song that kind of hides within the track listing. It's about a wholesome girl and telling her to watch out for the world that's going to steal her innocence. But musically, this song is just not as dynamic as the lyrics, which I find to be a theme running out this entire album. So that's it. That is Kintsugi, and you know how I feel about it. I feel like it's good at what it's trying to be, but what it's trying to be isn't that great. In other words, I would compare it to my perfectly executed triple-decker PB&J sandwich with the excellent ratio of peanut butter to jelly and this nice toasted piece of bread cradled between the 2 soft pieces. But in the end, the sandwich is just a mixture of 3 decent ingredients. In a practical sense, you'll enjoy it when it's on, but you may not put it on. Especially because you have other dinner options like Sufjan spaghetti or Mini Mansions marsala. There's a lack of ambition and guts on this thing, even for an indie rock genre that isn't necessarily considered ballsy. I think lyrically from Ben Gibbard this is a return to form as far as what fans expect and desire from the band. It wasn't austere and impersonal like Codes and Keys was, but instead it was, you know, this honest confessional and these quirky specifics that we've grown to love from him. So overall, this thing is just a little better than okay, a 6.5 out of 10 in my opinion. What do you think, Bear? Let me know what you think I can do better in these reviews, and also let me know in the comments which Death Cab album is your favorite. Mine personally is Plans, just because it brings me back so clearly to the summer that I discovered it in 2007, I think it was. Enjoy this album, like this video, subscribe to my page, and let me know what you think I should review next.